Hello, everybody. We are back for another Prowess Live. Can't say how excited I am about today's topic. I'm Leah Steinkirk here with Prowess Project. I am started as the OBM, turned COO, and now we are helping train, vet, coach women that want to pivot in their careers to become online business managers. And then we help match them up with their ideal clients. And so, in all of that journey, we know that there's lots of things coming up to figure out how we get from idea to where we want to go. And unfortunately, money blocks can be one of those things. And just trying to figure out what is our gift and where we want to go. So our speaker today is extremely excited about all the wisdom that she has to share. So before we get started, just if you want to throw into chat, I am curious if you guys could define how you're feeling about success and business and your own personal ambition. And if you had a mood to label it, what would that be? So you guys can throw that into chat as we get started. And I want to just dive right into bringing up Kim Woods, who is here to talk with us. She has an amazing background, over 25 years in the C-suite, but then has combined that with some amazing gifts. So welcome, Kim.
Thank you so much, Leah. I'm really excited to be here. It's going to be so fun.
Awesome. We usually start off with letting our guests introduce themselves. Do you want to tell
Mhm.
us how you got to where you are today?
Well, it's crazy, right? So, business person, right? Like flying all around the world for Oracle and closing deals and running teams and all that stuff. Super corporate, got my MBA, and then had kids. And then the kids changed everything. And all of a sudden, I realized, you know what? This left brain, businessy, traditional stuff isn't really working. We can't get to the root to a problem. And I thought maybe I could do the therapy thing. And I was like, no, I want to do it. I want to do it a little bit wacky. I want to do it in a very woo, very intuitive space. And that's what I ended up doing. So now I combine astrology with my C-suite experience. And it's awesome because we can get to the root and we can help you live your soul mission so you're inspired and passionate. We can save time and money and all the things. And we don't just have to put like skills on top of things. We can really, just as I said, get to the root of something and remove the block. It's awesome.
Oh, I love it. And for those that are out there, like, wait a minute, how do you go from C-suite and Oracle and all that to astrology? Do you have like a way that you explain that, how the two fit together?
Yeah, so and they fit really well together because what ends up happening is this astrology, it's the stars. They are painting fate. They're painting like the future. And so there's future trends. But then you have like economics, and I'm an economics major too, like when I graduated from my undergrad. So that's where you get the trends for more of those financial, those geopolitical, those, things that are happening, again, future oriented. And then you have your business industries and your business industries come in right underneath it with the trends of like AI and how things are going in leadership, and they fit together. The stars are first, economics are second, and business is third. So it's beautiful. And JP Morgan talks about it, and what he said was millionaires don't use astrologers, billionaires do.
Oh, I do love that quote.
Yeah.
Um, what was the moment that these two things came together for you, where you
Oh,
realized this is your next offer?
Oh, yeah. No. Okay. I'm a business strategist. And Leah, I would love to say, oh, I had the epiphany and the light went off and all the things. No, that would be a lie. So when my son was born, he had major issues. He's fine now. He's 24, graduated from college, but I had to do a lot of things to help him get there. He was on the spectrum, basically. And so I pursued Eastern method with Western practices. And all of a sudden we started to see results. And I realized, like, wait a minute, this is really, really empowering. Started dipping my toe in, started splashing around a little bit. And yes, my journey was like all like this. It took a decade. This is why I do the work that I do, because I don't want you to have to take a decade to figure things out, because it does take a hot minute. How do you base as astrology as the foundation and then place business strategy on top of it? It doesn't seem like it's a logical thing. And yet it works so beautifully that people get such results that they grow 500% instead of 50%. They end up having great relationships personally, and they have more energy where they wouldn't before, because like I said, we start with you, we start with what your soul mission is, and everything just comes into place after that.
Oh, I love it. I love it. What are common blocks that you see that, like, when people are first getting started with this, what are common ones that you see that people need to move?
So there are three. So the first one is the mind. Your mind is not your friend. When you are growing, when you are wanting to reach places that you haven't been before, your mind immediately holds you back because your mind can only handle what it's already experienced. Anything
Oof.
growth, anything trajectory, anything, even goal oriented, think about you set strategy and then immediately you kind of step back from that. So the mind is the first thing. The second thing is with bar none, every single person I work with, whether they're multi-millions or billions or wherever they are, the money doesn't matter. It's they have a power. Like, how are they managing their power? Sometimes it could be confidence because they're leveling up and they're moving. A lot of times is they don't understand what their power signature is and they don't understand how it interrelates with other people, whether that be internal organization and their teams or whether that be external future clients or networking or something. And then the third thing, what we're going to really focus on today, money blocks. There are so many ways to have money blocks. It could have been present life conditioning, like you were younger and your parents fought about money. It could be you had a relationship and money became an issue. It could be you were broke in college. Who wasn't broke in college, by the way? Hey, right? Or it can be like conditioning just from like people around you that you don't even realize. You hear from a lot of people, oh, I didn't make as much money this year as I did last year. All of a sudden that gets into your psyche and you're like, crap, maybe I can't make more money this year than I did last year. Yeah, money's a many faceted opportunity, let me say it that way.
Okay, so then the next question is, what do we do if we know that that's where it is? Like, I mean, because I think we all have past stories or how we
Mhm.
were raised, all of that. I mean, that combined with the mind are definitely not my friend. So,
Right? I know. I know. So the two things, right? Because they do go hand in hand. So what I do adore is that for the past decade or so, people are talking about the law of attraction. They're talking about positive mindset. They're talking about mantras and affirmations and manifestation. This is like be still my heart. Yay, the world is catching up, right? So that's really good. But the mind is only going to get you so far, but it is the first step. So the first step, whether you're looking at a money block or whether you're looking at a way to get your mind to calm down, they go hand in hand. You want to identify that it's an issue. Gee, my mind is not going to be my friend when I'm in a growth situation. If I'm making, I don't know, if my company's making, I don't know, $300,000 and I want to make $600,000, if that path is exactly known, my mind will be okay. And most generally, my energy and money blocks won't really be big tension points. It's when we start to say, oh, I'm making $120,000 and I want to make $3 million, right? Like all of a sudden your mind's like, "Ugh," right? Like your mind is excited at first, but then immediately it's like all the reasons why that can't happen. And then blocks come up, like you face them, right? So, two things you can do. Number one, the mantras work. Don't ever stop doing your mantras. Don't ever stop doing the affirmations. I love money. Money loves me is what I tell every single client to say in the morning. Every single day. Say that every single day. That's the first step, right? The second step is to identify what are my sticking points with money? Is it sometimes it's top line is great and bottom line is terrible. Sometimes it's like, oh, I feel really comfortable when I sell in this way, but I don't know that I want to do it that way. For me personally, I love to sell and marketing. That's like the first thing that can go. Well, we know awareness is really important, right? So I do it, but I do it with kind of a meh. So for me, having a lead and a tiny offer or anything would be terrible. It would be terrible. And I know that, so I don't do it.
oh, fantastic. And I really appreciate sharing all this because I think for OBMs, like we can, one, we're really good at getting in our own heads. And
Yeah.
two, sometimes it doesn't feel natural, like you're saying, to either sell yourself or be blasting it out there to your network. So I really appreciate that. Do you have any wisdom for those of us that I feel like I get caught in a trap between that very logical brain and
Mhm.
then the part of this that knows that mantras work and knows that I
Yeah.
can reframe things. But it's like I got a great spreadsheet and I know I should be doing this and I'm stuck here in the middle.
So I would ask you, I'm going to turn that back on you. Not that I will answer the question, but I just want to know a little bit more. What happens to you? Like if I said to you, Leah, you know what? Every day say I love money, money loves me. What's your first response?
Um, uh, Totally fine doing that, but I
Yeah.
know usually the first thing my brain does in the morning is start worrying about all the things on the to-do list and the things that I know that are due dates coming up. I said I was going to get this done. I go very much into project management mode.
Yeah, 100%. So this is what I tell my people that are like that, right? Because of course I have people that are like that. So what I tell them is add it to your to-do list, which I kind of low-key hate that, but I will do that. Like, here's the thing with me. I am not going to tell you to go sit in lotus position and go la 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 and all the things are going to be good, because guess what? High performing people, visionary entrepreneurs, task oriented people, achieving high achieving people, they're not going to do that. It doesn't fit with your energy. So taking action does. So what I always say to people is, while you're brushing your teeth in the morning, while you're taking a shower, if you have a puppy and you're walking the dog, if you're taking the kids to school, have a moment. If you're pouring your cup of coffee, have a moment. It only takes one moment to take a nice deep breath in. You're creating space to receive, by the way. Every time you inhale, take a nice deep breath in and just say, like, oh, I want to make $1 million. I love money. I am worth all the money in the world. Money loves me. Like, something that really feels good. It doesn't have to be the same thing, because that can be kind of rote. And we're multitasking. So you didn't lose any time. You didn't lose any time doing it. It just is part of your morning routine. It
Oh,
does
that's fan.
change. It
Yes.
does change things.
So what do you have any advice for those little things to start to watch for, right? Because as OBMs, the first thing we want is start tracking the data, the
Yeah.
results. What are some of the little things that people can watch for to be like, this is working. Let's keep going.
Yeah, so it seems ridiculous. I just want to say one thing. This, I'm getting pressed to say this, that I have a new client, and she was having, like, stuck, no new clients. Her money was not in a great place. She started doing, and I combined it with a few other things particular to her, and so she started doing, while she was brushing her teeth, she started doing it. She's gotten 6 clients in the last 3 weeks,
There you
out of
go.
nowhere,
There's data.
seemingly out of nowhere. Right. So we're going to watch the big things. We're going to know she won an award. She's on stages with 700 people. Like, literally, we turned it down within 2 weeks. We turned it around.
That's
So
fantastic.
and I have results. I could name like 47 things right now and keep talking about this, because I could just name them, because it does work. What you want to watch out for, here's the thing. It's going to be, and my clients will sometimes be like, yes, but I want the $1 million, right? You'll all of a sudden you'll see a dime on the sidewalk. You'll see a dollar kind of falling out. You'll look at your bank balance and you'll say, oh my God, I had $13 more than I thought I did. And our minds will immediately go, so what? Right? Like, who cares? It's a dime. Here's the deal. Money doesn't know its own value. So when you ask for money, money's like, I'm giving you to you and you're dissing me. So money, a dime doesn't know the difference between $100 bill. It just doesn't know. It's like, but I'm money. It's so good. So watch for the little things. You'll all of a sudden get a rebate, or you'll all of a sudden somebody will hand you a coupon or something. That's when you know it's working.
Oh, you know what? That is a fantastic point. I feel like I've lived that one, right?
Yeah.
Where but that was only $5. So maybe I didn't do it
100%.
right. Because again, that's where I'm going to go that I didn't do it right. That's going to be my first thought.
Hmm.
For all of our listeners, if you guys have more questions, please throw them in the chat. I know that I'm not the only one that dances between the logical side and that
Hmm.
more woo woo intuitive side. And how do I get that flow going? So I would love to talk, Kim, about money blocks, but also the time we are in right now. Because as I've been reading and hearing, that right now is an interesting time for the astrology side of all this, um, to be paying attention to.
Yeah, so here's the reality, is that we are in unprecedented times. No one on the planet right now, all 8 billion plus people of us, have ever been in this energy. And so we are in this, I like to call it the elbow, right? Like, we're in this, like, turning point of everything being new, which is why you're hearing about so many things: stress, exhaustion, lack. Those statistics are horrifying, right? And so how can we sort that? And I'll as I'm talking about what's coming up, I'll tell you how to sort that. First of all, no, you're not alone. This is happening to everybody, right? And secondly, you chose to be here. Like, this is the thing. Like, you're like, okay, I thought this was going to be a really good idea, right? Like, 2025 is going to be awesome. It's going to be so great. And we've just had, I mean, I know we're live, so I can say this because I know we're right on time here. Like, we've just had a 6-month period where everything was held back. So since the beginning of November until the middle of April, nothing's working well. You're not getting that momentum. You're not getting that startup. You're not. So for OBMs, you're probably not psyched, but you're probably like, I could optimize, I could streamline, I could rework things. I had some time to really roll up my sleeves and dive in. that is ending. So Q2 is the quarter of change. Things are going to start to shift. So for some people, they're like, for other people, they're like, oh, but I've kind of adored this pace because I've gotten used to it, right? If you're looking at your sales, you're like, thank God we had some all recurring revenue, right? And all those big launches and big things, the back half of the year is going to be a whoosh. Things are going to move so fast starting on in the first week of July. So fast like never before. We think that technology is moving things fast. We think that innovations are fast. We think that people talk fast. We haven't seen anything yet, and that lasts for 7 years.
Oh, wow. So it sounds
Hmm.
like as far those of us that like to optimize and help things move fast, it's a good time to be in that space.
Yeah. And so for my clients, 6 months ago, I said, take the time to build firmer footing. We have a few weeks of that left. Take the time to like really carve out pathways for people, get some documentation, procedures, like really get those things defined for you. And in the second quarter, like I said, things are going to start to shift. You're going to start to see some things, new things open up. We're in a revelatory period right now. We're on the heels of it. And so your eyes are going to be open in ways that you haven't seen things before. So that feels really positive in some ways, like, oh, cool. Maybe I learned this new way of doing something and that's going to help me out so much versus like, oh crap, what shoe's going to drop and what am I going to find out that I don't want to know? The reality is it's probably a little bit of both. So keep your mind open and say, okay, what if I found out like for me, I had this epiphany about marketing probably 2 months ago when I was like, wow, I really don't appreciate it. Like I always thought it could be the algorithm stuff. No, for real, it's like actually me, right? Like if I could just shift my energy when I'm doing those reels, maybe more people will watch them. So I that, but to really get that full appreciation of it, that's the time we're in right now, Leah. So I'm like, cool. So I'm gonna have more fun with it. I'm gonna just be more off the cuff and whatever happens, right? Whereas another revelatory thing could be you all of a sudden are like, oh, wow, we were never able to get this solution out. Now it's coming together. That feels really great. That's why this quarters would change, this changing. You're going to be shifting some things. Again, not your mind's favorite place to be. And that's where the
Truth.
affirmations help. Because your
Yes.
mind just needs to think that it's part of the solution. Like your mind just needs to think that it knows it already. That's the only thing. You're just tricking your mind. You're giving it a job.
That is an interesting concept. I got to write that one down and think about it because I'm
Okay.
wondering what jobs I'm actually giving myself with if I'm not being intentional about it, what am I actually assigning to go on up there?
100%, right? Because that's the other thing with this year. Precision matters and alignment matters, right? So alignment's more like, am I in the right spot? Am I in the right rooms? Am I saying the right things, right? Precision is, what are my thoughts actually making real for me right now? How many times do I think, oh, I can't do it? They don't want to hear from me. Why haven't they gotten back to me? Why aren't more people responding? What did I say in that meeting? Oh, I made that decision. Was that the right one? Oh, our minds are running amok. I mean, it's only going to get worse when things start moving faster because our minds are going to be like, oh, right. So getting your mind to just breathing helps, taking a walk outside, even taking a drink of water, like just little things you can do. I wrote a whole book on this, just little things you can do just to kind of reset, just kind of take that pause moment, give your mind just a hot minute. And then really ask yourself, is this a big deal for me or not? You can imagine with everything going on in the world, Leah, that all my clients are coming to me like, "Ah," and half the time I say to them, what does it have to do with you? Let's
Oh,
actually be real. What are you
that
doing about that? Right? Like it's not even your thing.
that is a powerful question right there.
Hmm.
Wow. Because I do think for like everything that you just rattled off, I know has gone through my head, especially in the OBM space of like building a business, right? Because we
Yeah.
think, well, we put all this time and we send it out there and now they haven't gotten back to me,
Yeah.
right? And then we stop because that we think that is the evidence for all the other things.
Yeah.
Um, so that is fantastic, and I really appreciate that. Is there any other advice you would give for people when they're like, I'm trying to get in alignment, I'm trying to do like any
Yeah.
other ways that they can do that?
Yeah. So I'm pressed to do like a little bridge between what we just said and just now. Think about it. It took Einstein 1,000 tries before he invented the light bulb. Like if you're building your own business, I always say to people, you're like knitting an airplane, like while you're flying it, right? Like, do you have the right tools? Probably not, right? Like you're flying it at the speed of light, most likely, and you're actually trying to construct things. So give yourself a break. Just that's the first thing you can do is like, okay, we're not going to go in the alignment yet. Like this is the bridge I'm building. Like give yourself a break. You're not going to know everything. You're not going to do everything right. And the more mistakes you make, the more you learn because at least you've tried, right? And
Mm-hmm.
hopefully they're not as
Mm-hmm.
costly. Like hopefully they're not as costly, right? So to get into alignment, I really love, I'm not going to get too woo here, right? Because I could get so woo. But if I'm in that logical lane, think about even the way you wake up. So putting you in the hot seat, baby, putting you in a hot seat, Leah, right? So you wake up, the first thing you're doing is thinking about your to-do list. That is the natural thing, right? You come and you wake up, you're looking, you're like, oh, it's 6:30, I've got to go, blah, 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 right? What if instead you asked one question in the morning? You have to make this a habit. And I'm going to give you 3 or 4 questions that you can choose whichever one you love. How can it be easier? What else is possible? How am I going to be surprised today? What's going to be fun about today? You just have that one little question, and then solutions will come that are more aligned with your energy. Because think about it. When you wake up with your to-do list, what you're telling your energy is you want more to do.
Oh, there's your mic drop right there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Again, it's natural. It's natural. I have to tell every single person on the planet this, anybody who come in contact with. That's why I have those questions at the ready, right? So for me, it's how can it get easier? And because I'd love to be surprised and delighted and I love to have fun. So those are like my normal questions. And I'm like, wait, Kim, like, just be real. Making things easier is probably going to be better. Or, finding ease is another one. How can I be supported is another one. Like you can tailor these to whatever it is that you feel like you are grappling with. And you just make that your question.
Mm, Question here is because a lot of times people are really focused on that like manifestation. We're talking about money blocks today, right? But these seem like a really good way to kind of shift that where it's not all just about the zeros in the bank account. It is about the overall life because really money is bringing in the ease, money is bringing in the joy.
Is it?
Am I
Is it?
well, I don't that's another good question. But
Mhm. I have so many people that come to me that are making like on paper, they are making the 7, 8, 9 figures. And so you would think that because they have all these systems and all these things in place, that they'd be more joyful and that they'd have more ease. That's not necessarily true. If you're attached to struggle or if you're attached to not being able to receive, then you're working too hard for that money. I've done it.
Mhm.
I mean, back in the day, corporate, like I was like, whoa. Anytime I left a job, they hired 3 people. Clearly, I was not doing like I was doing the right thing, but not actually the right thing for me, right? So all these things, every single thing we've talked about is going to create more money for you. It's just more immediate and it's more practical because that's what you've asked me to talk about. So think about this. You wake up in the morning and you say, how can it be easier?
Yeah.
Where am I going to get support? How is someone going to be helpful to me today? How is my technology actually going to work? Like that can be mine too, right? Like, and I don't
Mhm.
ask it facetiously, right? So, and then think about it. You save time, right? You're getting support from different places. You are then able to work on higher value things, or you've opened your ability to receive, and that's about money too. All these things are about money.
Yeah. Yes. And I think that's where I was going with it is that these seem like the more direct way, I guess, to
Mhm.
get to what it is we actually are wanting,
Yeah, 100%.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of people that are starting their own business or they're in their business and wanting to grow it, it's to get to these same things, right? We
Absolutely.
want.
Think about it. Every entrepreneur, time, support, and money are their 3 biggest things. 3
Mhm.
biggest. Everything is going to be when you have the time, you don't usually have the resources, right? And when you have the support, a lot of times you don't have a lot of money because it costs money to get support, right? It's same thing when you have a lot of support, sometimes you don't have the time because you're
Mhm.
so busy dealing with all the things that you're doing, right? If you can create an opening for yourself, whatever that may mean, if you're not feeling passionate, if you're not feeling clear, if you're not feeling confident, if you're not feeling ease, if you're not feeling like you're being supported, all those things will manifest and create money that's complicated, because money is the byproduct of what is going on internally.
Oh, I would love for you to say more about that, that money is complicated.
Yeah, money is complicated. Why is money complicated? Let's see. Let's think about what's happening in the supply chain of money, right? So first of all, we come to money with preconceived notions, with conditioning from other people, with expectations that we don't even know we have. Money's an energy. So money's a physical byproduct of energy. So it's the key, it's the most qualitative measure we have. It's probably the only qualitative measure we have of what's going on inside of us. That's why it's so complicated. Sometimes people can say love, yeah, yes, but no. So we have money. So we think, okay, think about all the different ways money is. You can attract money, you can make money, you can manage money, you can grow money, you can spend money, you can keep money, you can give money. There are actually 8 different ways that money works. Most often we're thinking about 2, attracting and making. If you're an OBM, you know, and you're really into that task maintenance and whatnot, managing money becomes a beautiful thing for you. People have a certain affinity for 1 or 2 of those, and then they have a fail point on at least 2 or 3. So when you
Ooh.
start, right, and it's just the way it is, and it doesn't matter. Like, I have so many people that are in this like massively wealth orientated place of the 9 figures. They still have money issues.
Hmm.
It just has a different materialization in their life. So it has a different energy for them. So I work on it. I just work on it in a different way, right? So some people are really good at sales, but they're not good at managing. Some people are great at managing, but they can't actually make money. Some people are great at attracting money, but then they can't keep the money. So when you look at it from a whole big equation in a more holistic way, you'll gain so much more insight about how money is actually working with you.
I so appreciate all this wisdom. My next question is, how can people start to learn that? How can they learn what theirs are?
Yeah, so this is where we were talking before we hopped on, is that it sounds ridiculous, but I have a 12 question quiz, right? And I have a 12 question quiz that's actually living and breathing. I do so much material with it that I've had over 22,000 people take it. It's been written up in Forbes. I've gotten an award from Entrepreneur Magazine for one of the online business disruptors with it. I mean, it's legit. And when you answer those questions, what you're answering is how you come into making decisions. Do you do it through your mind? Do you do it through who you know, or you do it by taking action? And that's what the quiz measures. And then when you actually stay in my world, I have a whole abundance podcast playlist. I've got tips for you by your signature. I've got emails for you that, if we're just talking about money, I've got a whole money program that's actually free, by the way. So why am I doing this? Because I am sick of talking about money blocks. Like, you know what I mean? I want to get to your soul mission, right? I want you to be living the life of your dreams. That's my jam. I deal with the money because I have to, right? So that's why I give all this. I do all this stuff. I wrote a whole book on abundance. Like, I did it all so that people would have things at their fingertips, and they'd be able to take them and put them in their back pocket, and then be able to have the resources that they need, have the time that they want, have the support that will be helpful to them. It helps you clear your pathway. It's beautiful.
And I'm very grateful. I know I'll be taking the quiz right after this, as I mentioned. What we like to do a lot of like the dream casting. What does it look like? What does it look
Mhm.
like for someone who now they've moved through that stage and you're working with them on that soul abundance? What does that look like?
It's on it. I hate to say, oh, it's life changing. It's life changing. And why is it life changing? Because a lot of times people working with me, it's the first time they're seen, heard, and known. I mean, I'm going to get super woo for a second. I channel the voice of your soul because I walk into your stars the minute you're born, right? So I literally take that first breath with you, and I get rid of all the blocks and all the obstacles and all the preconditioning, and just look purely at you. That's intoxicating for people, right? Like, there's so many things that we see and that we're able to glimpse, and that we're able to facilitate healing for, right? We're able to remove those blocks. I download the model, the business model that's exactly right for you. Everybody has a sales style. Everybody has a leadership style. Everybody has a money signature. They've got a power imprint. They've got a success signature. Like everybody has their own unique like path. And to be able to be on it and know that for sure. So you get the clarity, you get the confidence, you get the commitment, you get the consistency. There's so many things. So people in my world, their businesses grow by hundreds of percentage points, not by 10 percentage points. They get to have the life that they want with the schedule that supports them and they have people that are actually the right people that are their right and left hand, supports. You're aligned with you. I mean, you're walking your walk, you're shining your brilliance, you're doing your thing.
Ah, that's fantastic. And I can see how that would be so valuable. And I do think it's at the root of what a lot of us want to get to, right?
Exactly.
Is what am I supposed to be doing? How can we talk a lot about serving here, like we want to help someone
Yep.
else elevate their gifts or whatever that looks like, but in order to do, who are the right people? Like we can talk about ICPs and all that stuff, but I love
Right.
how you're describing this.
Yeah. And there's a certain ICP for people too. And I look at it differently. I just have a different lens to look at it. I'm looking at it from an energetic perspective. Is that person draining your energy? I don't care what their skill base is. Is that person draining your energy or not? Because we have to start there. And if
Mhm.
yes, but they're still the right person, okay, now we're going to come up with remedy for that.
Oh, what I like about that is I think that there's those crossroads of I am being drained, but is it I should move through this because I really do want to help them and not give up
Hmm.
versus you're actually not on the right path.
Yeah.
And I think
100%.
that's so important for OBM's business owners to take a look at.
Hmm. Yeah. So with me, like when people come in, I don't just say, oh, you should be doing this over here. And oh, it just is so fabulous, whatever. No, I am a practical person, right? And so I am always going to take all your experience and all the things that you've already built and all the things you've already done. I'm going to leverage them to the maximum. We'll only make changes if they're absolutely necessary.
That's fantastic. A couple more questions.
Okay.
Um, One is what would you say right now for our logic brained OBMs? As we're moving in this to this transition, you talked about like the first quarter was kind of focusing SOP, like all of that, which is what we love to
Mhm.
do. What would you say are practical things that they can would help them as we're going to move into this next energy shift?
Okay. So in Q2, be open to change because there are opportunities that, like, literally, there's such luscious opportunities for the next 2 years. They're kind of mind blowing, but they can be daunting, especially if you're doing opportunity on top of when you start opportunity stacking, right? You're like, wait a minute, where's the grounding in that? What are my pillars? So for every single person, I would remind them to go back to two things. One is depends on what their focus is. If it's internal, go back to your mission, vision, and values. Always. They're the trifecta that you want to make sure they still fit you. They want to make sure that you want to make sure you're wearing them. And especially with values, they're the filter for which you're making all your decisions. I did grow up in business. I was doing this for 25 years, right? The other side of that is like if you're more external, if you're more focused on that marketing, sales, being on stages, visibility, those types of things, you want to make sure you have a brand book. Like you want to make sure your voice, your rhythm, your cadence, all those things are really solid because there is so much noise right now everywhere. There's so much noise everywhere. And because of that, a lot of times we can't find those quiet moments. So we have to rely on the reminders for ourselves. What are my milestones that I'm looking at? What is my ROI? What are my metrics? What are my KPIs? Like whatever those are, but be open to those changes because there's opportunities coming out of left field. And on the back half of the year, they're going to be coming up, especially Q4. They're going to be coming up at a speed that it may not be digestible. So
Interesting.
discernment matters.
Yes. Which I think is good is great for
Mhm.
especially this audience because you
Yeah.
have the skills and the talent and discernment is a great place to be to like again, which one of these are going to align with me and bring all of that, like you were talking about the ease and the joy in faster.
Yeah.
I love
And
that.
and I'm going to do one other thing. Don't be hesitant to say no. Think about where you are. If you're usually like, yes, yes, yes. No is a really good thing. If you usually no, 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 then yes is a really good thing because you're being
Mhm.
pressed in a way that's not familiar to you right now. And so it depends on where you usually are leaning towards. So if you're the type of person that's like, nope, 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 it has to be 100% perfect, everything has to be done, you're going to lean more into the yeses. But again, you still want to do that in ways that are supportive for you. But if you're on the other side, if you're, yeah, if you're on the other side, you just want to be able to be like, yeah, that's not for me.
Mhm.
It's not mine. Like I say that a lot. This isn't mine. It's really interesting, but it's not mine.
And there's so much power in the no. I always say that, like,
Mhm.
when you can get there, that's a great place to be because you do know
Absolutely.
where you're going. And then I do think when you can say the no, other things show up.
Absolutely. That's where the yes comes. You were talking about alignment. So yes and no are the really first step of that, you getting in alignment.
That's fantastic. Um, where can people find you?
Yeah, the easiest way, kimwoods.com, right? So we've just gone through a whole big SEO project. Yay. So we've revamped the website. I have like a start here place for you. So you can literally walk through that if you want to. My podcast there, my blog is there, ways to work with me is there. Everything's there. If you're like, I don't care about going to the website, Kim Woods, Kim Woods channel on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. And weirdly, it's Kimmy Woods on LinkedIn. It's an older profile. So that's why that's still the link. And come find me. I always have love to have online conversations. I will answer questions. If you have interest in this, part of my job is educating because it's so new to everybody that I take the time to do that.
Oh, and I know that what's going through a lot of people's heads right now is one, I want to work with people that are doing work like this, like what you're
Mhm.
talking about. Do you have any advice for OBMs that may be wanting to work with people that are more in this space of whether it's woo woo or just intentional work, serving
Yeah.
other people?
Yeah, definitely. So there's a few ways you can do that, right? So one is you can do the research. LinkedIn, your people are on LinkedIn. They might hang out on Insta and Facebook and the like and YouTube, but they're really on LinkedIn. You're looking for business owners who are on LinkedIn. When they're on LinkedIn, what you can do is instead of trying to do like a big, huge research, you can just start reaching out to people and say, hey, I'm really curious. What do you think? I mean, that's what we started 3 years ago. We were like, I did a little bit more than that. I'm like, oh, I dance with the stars. How about you? Kind of thing. And you get the people that are like, yep, no, and there are a lot of times it's crickets, and then other times it's like leaning in. Or you can look at my profile and see who's following me. Those people are most likely woo.
Yes, excellent advice. Um, and when it comes to that logic side of you, the 25 years in corporate, what we talk a lot about the patchwork quilt here. I joke that my
Mhm.
background is like all over the place, but where I sit today, I can see how all that I needed to go through all of that to get to what I do today, and I love what I do today. Do
Yeah.
you have any advice for people that are like, I really like my OBM work, but I really am curious about astrology or another type of service? Like, how did you decide this is the way I want to fuse all this together?
So for me, but it depends on your personalities. For me, I'm a seeker. So I went and I took a lot of classes. I got a lot of certifications. I really explored. If that's your jam, have fun. Carve out 2 or 3 hours every single week, like maybe on the weekend where you're just like, ah, I'm going to be totally self-indulgent and I'm just going to splash around and I'm just going to start looking at things. I'm going to read books. I'm going to start talking to people. I'm just going to start exploring this world because it gives me joy, right? So you can do that. If you're more hesitant to that, either time starved or you're like, I'm curious, but I'm not really that curious. I'm not really sure. There's two things that you can do. I have someone that I work with, and she's the owner of the Edge Network, and I think it's the edgemagazine.com. And you can go and you can check that out. And it's literally for curiosity seekers. And it's safe. They have got a podcast, they've got an online blog and things like so you can just kind of read and splash around there. If not, if you want a direction that's like the next step for this, how do you feel about two things? How do you feel about like a set of like oracle cards that could kind of get you a little bit further? They're a little bit practical, or how do you feel about taking like do you do yoga? And would you like actually love to get into the more spacious meditative zone of shavasana at the end of yoga? Right? I mean, these are things I'm looking for like baby steps.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And I do think that it is whatever that part out there that feels right. And I love how you talked about the being more curious about it. And it's
Yeah.
absolutely okay. And I think it's also okay, like getting in and then maybe that's not it. I want to go back to setting up
Oh,
funnels and
a
yeah,
100%. Like there's no harm, no foul here. There's no
yeah,
wrong way to do your life, right? Like,
yeah,
you can be totally splashing in one area and then take a left turn and say, that's not my jam anymore. Or you can say, everybody's doing it, but it's not me.
yep,
Because
yes.
I will tell you, the trend is astrology is going to become mainstream. Intuition is the forefront. Like we're in a new time right now. This is becoming mainstream. Fast Company, Google, Amazon, Goldman Sachs, they're all using astrology, and Coca-Cola, they're talking about it now. This is happening.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. I encourage
Mhm,
anyone who is curious, go check out Kim Wood's stuff. Um, take the quiz. Her podcast is amazing. And if nothing else, it's just there's wisdom out there that will work for you. I think it's what you find in it that does resonate. So
mhm.
thank you so much for being here. We'll be back next week. And thank you, everyone.